right, special field trip today. We are hitting America's Mother Road, Route 66. We're in the cross timbers right now, or the eastern hardwood forest behind us, and watch the cross timbers episode for deeper explanation of what this ecosystem means. But basically, it's the point in America where eastern hardwood forests become western prairies. So today, we're taking Route 66 and watching it happen, and we'll stop at different places along the way, maybe shoot some photos of some of the cool stuff along Route 66. Should be a good trip. I'm going to try not to talk at you much, maybe get some music in the background to kind of fill in the gaps. One other thing I'd like to do is kind of demonstrate how that transition happens. Remember, as you get farther west, it gets drier. We're at about 40 inches here. We're going to pop out where Route 66 goes into the prairie at Edmond, Oklahoma, about 100 miles away, and we lose about 5 inches of precipitation. That means the forest can't survive anymore, and it's all prairie. But when you get closer and closer to that edge, the trees, like this post oak behind us, get smaller and smaller and more stunted and more gnarled, and we're going to see if we can't measure that on the way out. So one thing we're going to need to do is figure out how to measure a tree. We're going to look for a tree that, and this is a quick and dirty approximation, we're going to look for a tree that is just a little bit past huggable size, because that's how tree huggers measure it. The real way to measure the diameter is the diameter at breast height, or 1.3 meters. You would use a tape measure to get the circumference and then figure out the diameter. But for today, we're going just past huggable. Then you need somebody to stand at the base. We've hired Ike for the day to be the guy that stands at the base of the tree, and we're going to step back until we get good perspective on the top of the tree and being able to see the base of the tree with Ike. And all you need to do this is a typical classroom 12-inch ruler. You can get crazy and do it with a meter stick if you want, but you don't need any fancy equipment. So I'm going farther back until I can see both Ike and the top of the tree. Now I can see him, and what I'm going to want to do, we can get the ruler in here. I'm going to want to get the base of the ruler, hold this out far away from me, base of the ruler at the base of the tree, Ike's head at the 1, and then I can measure where the top of the tree is. I know that Ike is 5 feet 9 inches, and that's 5 3/4 feet, or 5.75, so I would just multiply that by however many inches. So let's try this. I've got one eye closed. Can you look over my shoulder? And the way I'm seeing it right now, Ike's head is at the 1. I've got the bottom of the ruler at the bottom of the tree, and the top of the tree I can see is all the way up at 12. So 5.7 or 5.8 times 12 is going to be what? 69 feet or so tall. So a post oak that's just about huggable in Sapulpa is about 70 feet tall. We'll see how that changes as we go west. West of Kellyville, about 15 miles into the trip. We got a post oak, huggable size over there. We've got Ike at the 1, and that post oak is 6.5. So that's about a 40-foot post oak right there. And if you look around, you'll see that forest is starting to get a little bit more open, and we've gone from thick forest with occasional patches of prairie to forest with bigger patches of prairie, and we're going to continue to transition until we're getting prairie with little patches of forest. Here we are just west of Stroud. This is the halfway point. Got a post oak behind me, just past huggable size, and it's in that 40-foot range. So we're getting smaller, and if you look, you can see the open prairie is getting more and more, and now we just have patchy trees coming in. We are at about mile 70 now in Wellston, Oklahoma. We got our post oak behind us, running about 40 feet tall, and next stop, Edmond. Here we are on the east side of Edmond. You'll notice that the post oak behind Ike, how stunted it is, how gnarled it is, about 30-35 feet tall. You'll notice out here, definitely prairie plants. We've got our sunflower over there. Come on in. You can see the milkweed growing. You've got your foxglove and your prairie grasses. Let's take a quick walk into the forest to give an idea of how stunted, how gnarled, how difficult it would be to get through here if it weren't for a trail. And this is the last little piece of eastern hardwood forest, but certainly looks nothing like the eastern hardwood forest we have up in Tulsa. This is at that 35 inches of rain where these trees are just fighting to make it. We've got chinkapin oak there, we've got your hackberry, we've got your Virginia creeper, your post oak, and if you just look through all these plants we've been learning about, those smilax there, that vine just choking it, here's your chinkapin oak, here's a mulberry, but everything is growing in a really gnarled, stunted way. And this forest isn't young. I mean, it's definitely 50, 60 years old. Actually, it's actually 80 years old. There's your post oak right here that, oh, it's not huggable. My hands aren't touching, so it's really not that different than the one that we are at, but that's 30 feet tall. All right, here we are in Edmond, backyard of the grandparents' house. There's Ike in front of a not huggable post oak, because that thing is probably older than the post oak that we started at in Sapulpa. The diameter breast height is more, definitely over 100-year-old tree, but only 35 feet tall. Remarkable what that tree has been through. Right next to the tree over there that the kids used to play in the backyard of the grandparents' house, growing up. I might be able to throw a photo in there, but we've made it to Edmond. I'm going to head a couple miles west now, show you what happens in about 3 miles that way, where it becomes prairie, and it's prairie all the way to the Rocky Mountains. All right, we broke through. We are now out in the prairie. There are a couple lines of trees out there, and that'll happen. Little patches of trees will happen for the next 30, 40 miles, and then you're in just pure grass. You can look down and see the buildings of Oklahoma City to the south, and out west it's grassland all the way to the Rocky Mountains. Thank you for joining me on this adventure, and be well.